Is it possible for a single face on a magazine cover to make an international media institution lose control of its own distribution system, force senior editors to make decisions never before recorded in their history, and quietly change the way the fashion industry reads the power of global celebrity? This question suddenly echoed loudly when Elle Korea's January 2026 issue was officially declared completely sold out, not partially, not gradually, but vanished instantly, because of just one name, Jungkook. At this point, the public might assume the story is already over. The magazine sold out, fans cheered, the media recycled the familiar narrative of the Jungkook effect, and the news cycle moved on to the next issue. Yet this is precisely where the real story begins. Because what left Korea's fashion and media industries silent was not the sold-out fact itself, but what happened afterward. A series of internal decisions at Elle Korea described by industry sources as illogical unless you see the scale firsthand. Jungkook of BTS, the magnate of the group that has redefined the globalization of K-pop, returned to the entertainment stage after completing mandatory military service in June 2025 with attention even sharper than before. His status was no longer merely that of an idol or pop star, but a symbol of cross-sector appeal capable of moving the cultural economy, social media algorithms, and the marketing strategies of world-class corporations. When Elle Korea announced Jungkook as the cover face of its January 2026 issue, while also featuring his collaboration as a global ambassador for Chanel Beauty, high public enthusiasm was indeed anticipated. However, not a single internal report predicted what would happen within hours of the pre-order opening. 9 individual versions, types A through I, along with one collector's set version, were released simultaneously on Wever's shop. Under normal circumstances, such a distribution model is designed to spread demand, prevent bottlenecks around a single edition, and provide room for international markets. That logic collapsed instantly. Every single version, without exception, sold out. Not one edition remained, even before the official pre-order period ended. The sales system did not crash, but the incoming data left many parties stunned, because the numbers revealed something more unsettling than mere success, a pattern of consumption that appeared irrational through the lens of traditional industry logic. Star News, through a report published on January 10, 2026 at 7:20 Western Indonesian time by reporter Moon Wansik, became the first mainstream media outlet to openly label the phenomenon as concrete proof that the Jungkook effect was operating once again on a larger scale. Yet even within that report, there was a note of caution. The phrase "once again," used by Korean media, no longer felt sufficient to describe what had happened, because this was not repetition, it was escalation. The photo shoot took place in Paris, a city that for centuries has symbolized the highest form of legitimacy in the fashion world. There, Jungkook was not presented as a K-pop idol attempting to enter the realm of high fashion, but as a figure who seemed to have long been part of that ecosystem. His visuals combined sharp masculine aura with a softness that was almost boyish, creating a contrast-driven ambiguity that became the core of his appeal. It was no coincidence that the nickname Chanel Prince quickly emerged among fans and media alike. The label was not merely aesthetic praise, but a symbolic acknowledgement of Jungkook's position within the hierarchy of global luxury imagery. The real impact, however, was felt when the supporting content was released. The Chanel Beauty photoshoot video uploaded to Elle Korea's official Instagram surpassed 8.25 million views in a short period. For a fashion media account of Elle's stature, this was not just high, it was anomalous. Elle's own beauty director publicly expressed her shock, stating that the 3-part teaser they released generated 1 million likes on one of the posts, a first in her entire career. That brief statement served as a signal that even Elle's internal team had not been fully prepared for the scale of public response. Amid the visual euphoria and viral metrics, Jungkook's exclusive interview added another equally powerful narrative layer. When he spoke about his love for fragrances, particularly Bleu de Chanel, he avoided bombastic marketing language. Instead, he took a reflective approach, describing the scent as a representation of masculinity that is not forced, a form of self-expression that exists without excessive effort. That seemingly simple sentence triggered a chain reaction that even Chanel itself may not have fully anticipated. Shortly after the interview was published, Bleu de Chanel was reported to be out of stock on Chanel Beauty's official website. An iconic product from a fashion powerhouse once again proved that a single statement from Jungkook is enough to move the global market. Social media became the echo chamber of this phenomenon. The announcement of Jungkook as a Chanel Beauty global ambassador immediately shot to the top of global trending topics on Platform X, with the hashtag Jungkook for Chanel Beauty taking the #1 spot. Fanbases from various countries raced to share screenshots of media reports, lists of sold-out items, and sales statistics. Accounts such as @JungkookArg97, @Daily_JK Update, @14JK from Thailand, and @JakeChartsMaster cited reports from Star News and Naver Entertainment, reinforcing the narrative that what was happening was not merely temporary hype, but a structural phenomenon increasingly acknowledged by mainstream media. Yet behind all of this, a question began circulating quietly among industry professionals. If a single magazine issue can sell out completely because of Jungkook, then what does the long-held concept of distribution planning actually mean? Can this still be called success, or is it a warning that the power of global fandom has surpassed the control of legacy systems? The answer to that question is what pushed Elle Korea to take its next step, a step not publicly announced, not released through a press statement but felt behind the scenes. Industry sources describe the decision as something never done before, an emergency response to a new reality created by a single name. And it is here that the story shifts from a simple sold-out narrative into an account of how Jungkook indirectly forced an established institution to rewrite its own rules. If the public believes this story ended with the phrase sold out, then they are profoundly mistaken. It was precisely after the digital shelves of Wever's shop were completely emptied, after the sold-out notification became the only text left on the screen, and after fan euphoria settled into collective pride, that a far quieter yet far more decisive phase began inside the editorial rooms of Elle Korea. There, far from camera flashes and social media timelines, an internal discussion unfolded with a level of intensity rarely seen, triggered by one uncomfortable question: what should be done when market reality moves faster than the systems designed to control it? According to industry sources familiar with the internal dynamics of major fashion media, a total sellout across all variants was not merely an editorial achievement. It was an emergency signal. For a magazine like Elle Korea, success is usually measured through balance between exclusivity and accessibility, between market demand and distribution control, between brand prestige and business sustainability. In Jungkook's case, that balance collapsed in a very short time. All the metrics that had long served as benchmarks suddenly lost their relevance. It was at this point that a disturbing realization emerged. Jungkook was no longer just a cover face or a brand ambassador. He had become an unpredictable variable that disrupted predictive models altogether. The Elle Korea editorial team, accustomed for decades to reading global fashion trends, found themselves confronting a phenomenon that could not be fully explained by conventional marketing theory. Sales data showed extreme spikes, but what was more unsettling was the pattern of purchasing behavior. Fans did not choose a single favorite edition, they bought everything. Variants A through I, the set version, even editions with more subtle visuals were swept clean. This was not selective consumption, it was total consumption. Under normal circumstances, the most logical response would be to reprint. Yet this was precisely where Elle Korea made a decision that some industry players later described as crazy. Instead of immediately announcing a massive reprint to chase maximum profit, the editorial team reportedly chose a far more cautious and strategic path. They held back, not because they were unable to reprint, but because they realized that what they were facing was not simply high demand, but a shift in perceived value. This decision surprised many. In a media industry constantly pressured by declining print circulation, the chance to reprint an issue almost guaranteed to sell out again is usually seen as a blessing. But Elle Korea saw something else. They saw risk. If a reprint were executed without control, the Jungkook issue could lose its symbolic status as a rare cultural artifact. The very sense of exclusivity that formed a core part of its appeal could be eroded. More importantly, they began to realize that Jungkook was no longer operating within the logic of magazine as product, but rather magazine as event. The next steps only deepened the sense of uncertainty. Several sources mentioned that Elle Korea began re-evaluating how it packages celebrity collaborations moving forward. Jungkook became an internal case study, not to be copied outright but to be understood structurally. How could a single figure mobilize cross-national fandoms simultaneously? How did social media, e-commerce platforms, and editorial narratives reinforce one another to create a domino effect that was nearly impossible to stop? And most crucially, how could a media institution preserve its own identity amid such an overwhelming wave of fandom power? Meanwhile, outside the editorial offices, speculation began to grow. Fans noticed Elle Korea's silence after the sellout. There was no announcement of a large-scale reprint, no official statement outlining the next steps. That silence only fueled greater curiosity. Was Elle Korea preparing something bigger? Were they designing a new format never seen before? Or were they recalculating, reassessing the balance of power between media and celebrity in the era of global fandom? On social media, the narrative began to shift. Where the focus had once been on sales numbers and the nickname Sold Out King, discussions now moved in a more reflective direction. Many fans realized that what Jungkook had done did not merely benefit a single magazine, but also opened broader conversations about the value of creative labor, about how fans participate in the cultural economy, and about how an artist can become a gravitational center for multiple industries at once. The emotional reactions remained strong, but they were now accompanied by an awareness that something historic was unfolding. Within this context, Jungkook's position became even more compelling. He never explicitly claimed such power. In interviews, he continued to speak in a reflective, almost humble tone about art, scent, and self-expression. Yet therein lies the paradox. When a figure does not attempt to control the narrative of power, that narrative often grows on its own. Jungkook does not need to declare himself the center of the industry. The industry gradually begins to orbit around him. Jungkook's return to the entertainment world after military service further strengthened this dynamic. The public did not view it as an ordinary comeback, but as a new phase. With BTS entering a period of gradual reunion, every solo move by Jungkook was read as a signal of future direction. His collaboration with Chanel Beauty, his involvement with Elle Korea, and the direct impact on global product sales formed a chain of interconnected signs. Many began to ask whether this marked the beginning of an era in which celebrities are no longer merely promotional faces, but key actors who indirectly shape industry strategy itself. It is at this point that Elle Korea's post-sold-out decision becomes deeply significant. By refusing to react impulsively, they appeared to acknowledge that the Jungkook phenomenon required a new approach. They chose observation over rapid exploitation, analysis over momentary euphoria. To some, this looked like a defensive move. To others, it was a sign of institutional intelligence. An understanding that confronting a force as large as Jungkook cannot be done using old methods. One thing, however, has become increasingly clear. Whatever internal decisions Elle Korea makes, their impact will not stop at a single magazine issue. They will ripple outward, influencing how other media approach celebrity collaborations, how luxury brands select global ambassadors, and how the entertainment industry understands fandom power in the digital age. Jungkook may not sit in Elle Korea's boardroom, but the imprint of his presence is felt in every decision they make. And there is still one more chapter, one even more surprising. Because after the industry begins to adjust to the Jungkook effect, a far larger and more unsettling question emerges. Can this system still control Jungkook, or is Jungkook now invisibly the one controlling the system itself? The question now becomes far sharper and more unsettling. If Jungkook can cause an international magazine to sell out completely, make an iconic perfume disappear from global shelves with a single reflective sentence, and force an established institution like Elle Korea to reassess its foundational strategy, then who truly holds control within this ecosystem? Is the media still shaping stars, or are stars now shaping the media? For ARMY, this moment is read with a mixture of pride and deep emotion. Reactions on social media are no longer mere celebration. They have transformed into collective affirmation. Posts such as "Sold Out King Jungkook" and "Chanel Prince Jungkook" are not just fandom slogans, but symbolic declarations that Jungkook has transcended the category of a conventional idol. He is seen as a representation of hard work, consistency, and a long-term emotional bond between an artist and his fans. In this context, purchasing a magazine is no longer a simple act of consumption, but a form of participation in history. Yet this is precisely where the tension arises. The fashion and media industries are beginning to realize that power of this magnitude is not always easy to control. When a single figure can move markets instantly, systems built on long-term forecasting become fragile. Every future decision must now account for the Jungkook factor, not as an additional variable, but as the center of calculation itself. And this creates an uncomfortable precedent, because if Jungkook can do this, then who might be next? For Elle Korea, the January 2026 issue will be remembered not merely as the best-selling edition, but as a moment of institutional reflection, a point at which they were forced to re-question their role in the era of global fandom. Is a magazine still a curator of taste, or has it become a stage for forces already formed elsewhere? Their decision not to overreact, to maintain distance from rapid exploitation, can be read as an attempt to preserve editorial dignity amid a commercial storm. Meanwhile, Jungkook himself remains at the center of the vortex with an almost paradoxical posture. He issues no statements of triumph, does not respond to the sold-out king title with grand rhetoric. He continues to speak about art, scent, and honesty of expression. Yet it is precisely this calm that amplifies his impact. In a noisy world, silence often becomes the most effective form of power. With BTS gradually moving toward a full reunion, many see the Elle Korea episode as a prologue, a signal of how the next phase of Jungkook's career may take shape, not only as a member of a legendary group, but as a global icon capable of connecting music, fashion, media, and public emotion in a single breath. Expectations for further collaborations with Chanel, new solo content, and cross-industry projects continue to intensify. Ultimately, this story is not just about a sold-out magazine or a surprising editorial decision. It is a story about a shift in the direction of power within the global cultural industry, about how one name, one face, and one emotional relationship built over years can alter the way massive systems operate. And the final question lingers, more enticing than any answer. If this is only the beginning of Jungkook's post-military service era, just how prepared is the world to face the impact of his next move?